Support for this video comes from Manscaped, our go-to for men's grooming tools. I am here to let you know that Manscaped has forever changed the grooming game with their Perfect Package 3.0. The Perfect Package 3.0 kit comes with the Essential Lawnmower 3.0, a waterproof cordless body trimmer, and a ton of other liquid formulations to round out your manscaping routine. This third-generation trimmer features skin-safe technology and is the best trimmer on the market. For a limited time, subscribers get 2 free gifts: the Shed Travel Bag, valued at $39, and the patented high-performance, reduced chafing Manscaped Boxer Briefs. If you are listening to me speak right now, I want you to experience firsthand for yourself. Promo code Chael will get you 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com by using the promo code Chael. Guys, the world of MMA changes so quickly. We talk about this all the time, but it seems as though we also forget it all of the time. Okay? If I was to take you back 15 months ago, the biggest fight that you could possibly make within the industry would have been Daniel Cormier versus John Jones Part 3. As soon as Daniel moves up and takes on Stipe and comes in second, that fight with John no longer exists. It has never been spoken of since by any of you, by any media, by any promoter, by Daniel or John. Daniel's sole focus went on to Stipe Miocic, just by example, okay? If you were to back up to January 20th of this year, which in all fairness wasn't all that long ago, that's the night Conor Mania exploded once again. Conor takes on Donald Cerrone. They decide they're going to put Conor on ice and have him wait for Khabib. Somewhere in between January 20th and as I come to you right this very moment, Conor has now retired, okay? But when he retired, that did not add to the fire and the draw of wanting him to come back and see him in there with Khabib. Generally, that is what would happen. Generally, that would be the play, and that's the way those chips are going to fall. It just didn't fall that way. All of a sudden, Gaethje comes in, disrupts the entire division. Now Gaethje and Khabib got business to do. Oh, and by the way, Ali and Team Khabib come out and tell us that Khabib's only going to do 2 more matches. He has a goal. He wants to go out at 30-0. Well, Ali's actually told me that over 2 years ago. Hey, this is Khabib's plan. He's going to stick around. He's going to go undefeated. He's going to get 30 matches any way they want to do it, and he's done. I just tend to believe it. And now that we're getting closer to this, Khabib has laid out his own plans, and they don't involve Conor McGregor. I'm well aware that things can change. That's the entire point to this piece. They could quickly change, and all of a sudden we're talking about Conor again, but as of today, we're not. We're talking about Justin Gaethje. Can Khabib get through him? If he does, who will be the final fight? And all of a sudden, this dialogue about George St-Pierre comes back in. Now, don't forget, this is significantly different if Dana does, like I do, believe that Khabib's going to do 2 more and ride off into the sunset. Khabib has never in this sport been anything if not a man of his word. Now, certainly we wouldn't hold him and say, you're dishonest. He's got the right to change his mind if he wants to fight more time. It's called changing your mind, not lying. But generally speaking, Khabib has been very stubborn, very upfront, and can see a few steps ahead. So when he says, I'm going to do 2 more, it's very relevant to this because all of a sudden Dana's more open to the idea of George St-Pierre being that final fight. You have to understand, Dana's only resistance to putting George in is going, hey, George, you already did this to me once. You moved up to 185. You grabbed that title. You rode off in the sunset. Now I got a division with no champion in it. I don't like that. The only difference this time is you're openly telling me ahead of time you're going to come and do that at 155. I'm not into that. Well, everything changes if your champion coming into the match says, I'm done. This is it. Well, then why can't his challenger say the same thing? I mean, why can't his challenger say the same thing? If the belt's going to be vacated, and my number one thing that I don't want to see is the vacation of the belt, the vacating of the belt, it's same. It's apples, right? So I do think that fight's going to happen. A lot of that is the fan in me. I'm hoping for that fight. That would be a legacy fight to the highest of levels. I mean, they're talking about right now, just to use that phrase, but that's a very real phrase. The greatest marketing is the truth. you just don't always get it. Sometimes you gotta build something up a little bit. You gotta fluff it up a little bit, right? That's okay. We got no problem with that. But if you go look just by example at Daniel versus Stipe, Dana's already come out and says whoever wins this fight is the greatest heavyweight of all time. Greatest heavyweight the UFC has ever seen. Yeah, that's true. And that's a lot on the line, particularly when one guy is going to walk away and that one guy is Daniel. That is not how you want to go out. You just don't. As fans, we like to see pressure. We like to see people fail. We like to see people succeed, but we like to see people go all in. Very rarely that you burn your boats in this business. Daniel Cormier has let the ships on fire. There is only one way to leave. That is with victory or that is with failure. There is absolutely no in between. That's great. I mean, that is a really great thing to have. And if you're telling me that we can do that to the greatest the sport's ever seen in George St-Pierre, period, end of story, versus maybe the new greatest the sport's ever seen. I mean, that argument is starting to get a little bit tighter, isn't it? It's starting to get a little bit tighter when you have Khabib, the most dominant champion in the toughest weight class across the board, not just UFC. Bellator, Ryzen, ONE FC, any way you want to do it. Right now, 155 pounds. Oh my goodness, it is murderer's row, and Khabib's only lost one round, never lost a fight, has more 10-8 rounds than anybody in the history of the sport, any weight class, which makes him the most dominant fighter in the history of the sport. The most dominant fighter in the history of the sport versus the greatest in the history of the sport. We got to see that fight. Oh, I should add for you, the entire reason I brought up a moment ago that things can change quickly in this sport, the entire reason that I laid out that Connor's chip may now be off the board, at least it is for today, as it pertains to 155 and as it pertains to Khabib. Now, Conor can do things very quickly. Conor can do things with one win and two microphones that would take most guys 3 years of never losing to achieve. I'm only expressing the point that as of right now, things have changed. So, let's predict Conor's next fight. That's a very tough thing to do, particularly when the entire premise of this debate and discussion is that things change very quickly. But we're just going to take what we have right now. Look, I have never believed in the idea that Conor McGregor versus Cowboy Cerrone at 170, as much as promotion wanted to tell us that was a qualification bout at 155, I've never bought into the idea that that was Conor's idea. I have always believed Conor stepped back into 170 for one reason, and that is George Masvidal. That topic has gone away in many of your minds and many of the pundits' minds. I can tell you right for sure that has not gone away in Conor's mind. And as Masvidal is sitting out there, and I realize he's got his eye on Usman and he's got some things that he wants to do, Masvidal's got a lot of good options. Masvidal also has a championship. Conor's won every championship there is, right? I mean, there's only two belts. There's only two belts out there. You got the undisputed belt, you got the interim belt. There's a third belt, and it's the one he doesn't have. And if any of you have made believe that he still doesn't want it, you're wrong. If you've made believe that he forgot that Dana White did an interview on the streets of Beverly Hills with TMZ and said, I would never make that fight because George is too big for him, and you think that that doesn't piss Conor off, you're wrong. Conor is an animal, and if you put him into a corner and insult him the right way, he is going to fight you. The difference with Conor and a lot of other guys, it doesn't take much to piss him off. It does not take a whole lot to upset him. You want my prediction on what Conor is going to do next? I think there is a realisticness to him returning to the world of boxing. Whether that's with Mayweather or Pacquiao or somewhere in between, I think that that has to be a piece of the pie. I think if you're looking exclusively to the world of MMA, you should not give up on the idea of Conor versus Masvidal.